ナム妙法蓮華経ナム妙法蓮華経ナム妙法蓮華経 Hi everyone, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you so much for being here. Deep appreciate this morning. Yesterday I received from China this wool winter robe, and I have to thank you, my patrons, for enabling me to be able to order this for these cold winter days that we have here. Keeping myself far more comfortable and warm while I do these podcasts. So thank you for that. I have you to thank. This is a beautiful wool robe. Love it. Anyway, today we're going to continue with the Onko Kikigaki. We were last speaking about really the origins of this mandala, the treasure tower, how we have all these words really to discuss our enlightened nature. And just for a moment, just to kind of a couple of areas of thought that I think I was watching a video on PBS Space Time this morning. Wonderful video on quantum fluctuations and universe-sized strings. And it's a wonderful discussion with a lot of the same rhetoric that I've been using, talking about energy and quantum fluctuations, things coming in and out of existence. And I've often referred to that in relation to our Buddha mind, our Buddha-ness. And it occurred to me that I may have coupled those in a way that adds confusion rather than clarity. So what I want to say briefly is simply that the energy itself that I'm talking about and the formations, the 3,000 realms in a single thought moment being connected to this original cause and effect of energy, quantum fluctuations, and the instantiation of mass and matter. I'm not saying that our Buddha-ness or Buddha in general is that energy. And I want to eliminate that confusion if that's going on in your mind right now. What I'm speaking to is our consciousness. And what Nichiren and Shakyamuni identified was that our consciousness, our knowing of that nature of all phenomena, is what we are now in this moment experiencing, is the knowledge, the wisdom with which we can uncouple our dependence, our constant habit, our craving, if you will, of all of those processes being permanent, static, existing things that we then identify with as ourselves a permanent existing thing, which is what spawns all of this stress about maintaining ourselves as a continuous thing. That's what breeds this necessitating of life after death, because this life can't go away, it can't stop. But when we realize, you see, that this life that you and I are living is constructed of tiny little fragmentary moments, one after another, that it never constantly exists, that it is a process that is constantly in change, moving, kinetic, that wisdom, that understanding of all phenomena liberates our panic and our fear of losing anything. And it also refocuses our mind on the fact that because everything is transient, impermanent, constantly changing, each one of these moments is precious and should be lived to its fullest. Yeah? Right? I mean, we have all kinds of fables. You don't have to go to Asian thinking to find the fables. Western thought has these fables about focusing so much on other that we never experience the moment. We never live for our obsession with going to a place to continue to live. We forget all about this moment that we are living. See, it's a shift of perception. And Buddha-ness comes from this living wisdom that we can course in, live in, understand in, moment to moment, right now. So if I'm guilty of making anyone confused as to what the nature of Buddha is, I hope that clears it up a bit. Okay, so speaking of the mandala, there's an interesting discussion that we're about to have. It goes a little deeper into the 7 jewels that are discussed in Shakyamuni's teachings, and Nichiren refers to them. And isn't it a coincidence, or is it, that there are 7 characters in the Daimoku? We're still talking about the treasure tower. All of these ways of discussing our innate wisdom, our innate Buddha-ness, that if we could just push away the clouds of ownership and static ownership making things permanent, if we could just relax that obsession and see everything as this magnificent flow of energy of which we're a part in this every single moment, how glorious would that experience be? And certainly it would slough off our anxiety about the next moment. Be in this one, right? So once again, this, I have to say, this touches on our discussion of the Daimoku and all Nichiren sects, save one, that understands that the importance of these 7 characters, Namu, Myoho, Renge, Kyo, certainly the 5, but no less important our attentive mind receiving knowledge, gaining wisdom. The Gohonzon is a word we use for that innate understanding. The treasure tower is a metaphor to explain that enlightenment from inside our consciousness, our mind. Right? The 7 jewels are just a reminder of the 5 jewels of Myoho Renge Kyo and the additional 2 of our dedication and awakening to those jewels. Right? There's all sorts of words we can use to talk about what is most precious about this life, to experience it fully, free of stress and anxiety. So here we go. The jewels of this jeweled vehicle are the 7 precious substances which adorn the great cart. The 7 jewels are precisely the 7 orifices in one's head, and these 7 orifices are precisely the 7 characters Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. the essential Dharma for the final Dharma age. And once again, this is located for our time. It's not just that this is the most efficient practice taught by Shakyamuni for realizing our Buddha-ness, but that we in this age of tremendous distractions, tremendous ego, and therefore a highly developed sense of desires and constant distractions, we need a method to open our Buddha-ness that's simple, that anyone can do, and that's immediate. Who of us has the attention span or the time to spend sitting in a cave contemplating our navel to attain Buddhahood? Plus, that would be incomplete. Nichiren and Tendai and Dengyo and Miaolao, all of these scholars have made that obvious, that earlier teachings are an arduous practice just to get to the point where they're prepared to practice Bodhisattva way in order to course in this world with the Buddha mind. But only the Lotus Sutra explains it directly. This is how it's done. This is how I did it. And this is something I pointed out before, too. You'll notice that in the sutras, everything says I. I heard this, I do this, I have come here, I this, I that. Remember, this is a memorization. It's an oral teaching. So isn't it a clever device to make sure that everyone's repeating everything in the first person? This is how I attain enlightenment. It never says, this is how this is how somebody else did it. It's always personal, because that's been the point from the beginning. This is your enlightenment. All you have to do is flip the switch, turn it on. No one can do it for you. Nobody can bring you a bag of Buddha, right? It's your mind, your enlightenment. So these are 7 orifices in one's head. Think about that. For us, living beings, the 5 characters of the Daimoku will become a boat at the river of the 3 crossings. They will remove the cold in the crimson lotus hell, in the hell of burning heat. They will become a cool breeze, and on the mountains of death they will become lotus blossoms. When we are thirsty, they will become water, and when we are hungry, they will become food. When we are naked, they will become a robe. They will become a wife. Of course, this is very male-oriented dialogue, but they will become a wife. What's happened there? They will become a wife, child, retainers, a clan benefiting all living beings by conferring their inexhaustible responsive workings. This is the meaning of directly arriving at the place of enlightenment. Accordingly, the fact that one dwells nowhere else but in the land of tranquil light is called directly arriving at the place of enlightenment. You should fix your mind on the word directly and ponder it. They will be secure and peaceful in their present life and will later be born in a good place. All right. So again, language. We've talked about this directly and experiencing. This is the invocation of the Daimoku and directly experiencing our Buddhahood. Okay? We've gone over that several times. But now, where he says their present life and will later be born in a good place. Please understand that later be born doesn't anywhere in it say after this life. No afterlife. What it says is that when we're moment to moment, when we invoke Buddha-ness, boom, we are born into our Buddha mind, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death. And later, in future birth, deaths in this life, we will find we are living in Buddha. This is our goal in our practice. So, you got to understand, this is, first of all, a translation. Secondly, a translation of ancient thought that refers to peoples whose concept of time is very, very confused and tainted. Not that we aren't confused and tainted today, but understand, don't try to make this mystical. Don't try to read into this multiple lifetimes. Even if you want to use those words, multiple lifetimes, they're birth, death, they're moment to moment. That's why there's 3,000 realms in every single thought moment. All of it is happening in each moment. And you can call each of those moments lifetimes, if you will, and that's how you can come up with a life as millions and millions of lifetimes. Because how long is a moment? And how many of them have passed since we started talking today? It's uncountable, unfathomable. Wow, these words sound like the words of the sutras. Because this is what Shakyamuni was describing. So don't get it mixed in your head. From the get-go, he was very much about understand everything is impermanence. There are no permanently existing things. And that includes a soul, anatman. Remember, there is no soul because that would imply some continuously existing thing, and that thing would have to create from itself, which is nonsense. It's magical. This is why I've had all these discussions with you about energy and what we call particles actually being made of waves, of quantum fluctuations, of energy, forms of energy, types of combinations of energy. It's a very fluid thing. There is no atom of Betty or Sylvain or Bob or my dog. That's what would be required if you believe things are permanent in existence. They're just not. Everything is a flow. Right, I'm repeating myself. So let's go on. They will be secure and peaceful in their present life. Our teacher said, hearing the Sutra of the Lotus Blossom of the Wonderful Dharma is called security and peace in the present life, and also later birth in a good place. This passage is immediately preceded by the words, having heard this Dharma. Heard indicates the ordinary worldling at the stage of verbal identity. In hearing the wonderful Dharma, one hears that one attains Buddhahood in this very body. This is the meaning of the passage, one who can hold this sutra, thereby holds the Buddha body, right? We've gone over that. One body is three bodies is one, right? Because one hears, one holds, and therefore the three kinds of powerful enemies arise. Their coming fulfills this passage's prediction of security and peace in this life. Right? We're talking about Dairakutena Mao now, or the Devil King. There's all these stories about how our environs in this samsaric world, because we attain enlightenment, we will see clearly what prevents us from coursing in enlightenment. The things that become what we call obstacles, or in other words, things that would obfuscate or get in our way or taunt us or seduce us into thingness again. and our cravings, those are embodied in the idea of Mara, or the Devil King, and his minions. What's the words we use in Japanese all the time? There I go again with my memory. Taraokutena Mao is the leader of the... That's so frustrating. Sansoshima, right? Sansoshima. It's Sansoshima that you're not moving forward with. You're being caught up in your cravings and desires instead of instantiating your Buddha mind and releasing yourself, right? Not releasing yourself from responsibilities. That's not what we're saying at all. But you're not experiencing your life fully because you're allowing... It's like getting your shoe stuck in the mud, right? You stop walking and you can't move forward because, your shoe's stuck in the mud, right? That's Sansoshima. It's preventing your moving forward. Follow? So that's what that's talking about. There can be no doubt that one is a practitioner of the Lotus Sutra, for we read in the sutra that a practitioner of the Lotus Sutra will encounter such grave persecutions, things getting in our way. And by encountering grave persecutions, one's attainment of Buddhahood, indicated by later be born in a good place, see, this is contemporary, is assured. So as we go through obstacles, we get born or reborn in a good place because we maintain our steadfast practice. And it will get us through moments of doubt, moments of seduction, moments of things that want, cravings that want to be heard. Wait a minute, what about me? What about me? The monkey mind, remember? It will distract us. And we live in an age of supreme distraction. There is no other practice that contends with this. That's why it's so important to chant every day, to recite every day, because we have to fortify our Buddha-ness so that we stick with it. That doesn't mean we won't run into obstacles. What it does mean is that those obstacles less affect us. And eventually, many of them won't occur anymore as we knock them down. Remember the bag of bricks that I talked about? That kind of thing? So, it's clearly expounded in the Devadatta chapter. So that might, in the Lotus Sutra, be another chapter to reread and get this conceptually through the expedient means of the metaphors in the sutra, right? In the final analysis, he goes on, security and peace in the present life means that those who believe in the Lotus Sutra shall escape the sufferings of the three evil paths, right? Hell, hunger, animality, and the 8 difficulties, and all of them, whether good or evil, high or low, shall attain the fruit of Buddhahood equally with the Lord Shakyamuni, manifesting themselves as the Tathagata of original enlightenment. There it is, original enlightenment. In other words, we will reach the clarity of wisdom, reaching all the way back to the formations, original formations of this magnificent instantiations, this variety of combinations of this flow of energy is all going to be like fireworks. It's all going to be amazing because we in our Buddhahood, in our Buddha state, we perceive things without time. In other words, we can talk about everything since the Big Bang, and we have. But there's this time-space element in all that science, right? And it says that this table and that Butsudan and everything you're seeing, this robe, is a complex evolution of energies and materials formed and labor and energies put into over unimaginable 14 billion years, right? it took for this to arrive, for that to come into being. But in a moment, as your Buddha mind opens, there's a direct vision of all of this stuff being just part of that flow, like a bubble in a stream. Like a bubble in a stream. In normal everyday life, that bubble is everything. It's existing, and I identify with that bubble, and it's real, it's solid, it's permanent. But as you move away from the stream and you understand the nature of the entire stream and how water goes over rocks and gets air mixed into it and makes froth and bubbles, you understand that it's just a bubble. It's part of the stream. It's constantly being made, and it constantly goes away and pops. The bubble is a temporary moment of formations. And now I'm no longer attached to that bubble. I'm perceiving that bubble in a much larger sense, a larger sense of life and the entire process. And now I'm not so stressed about that bubble because I understand that it's just a magnificent process that I get to participate in. Look at that bubble. There must be others. Isn't this just enticing and wonderful and right? Makes sense? So this is the Tathagata of original enlightenment. You could read as the realizing moment. From what I'm seeing in this moment, seeing it concurrent with its entire process, rather than just this moment in time and trying to freeze it. That's our illusion. True of all our difficulties. What should I chant about? Hear that all the time. Chant about not being hung up about what to chant about. And how do you do that? You hear what I just said. Most of us, especially through some nefarious organizations, are told to chant for things, which is exactly the opposite of Buddhism. Because things are the illusion. Duh. Chant for Buddhahood. Chant for enlightenment. Chant for your realization that whatever things are going on are just little bubbles in the stream. They're opportunities for you to see how playful energy and life are, rather than being weighed down. Oh, that bubble is going away. I'll never see it again. Chant about that. What? That's not Buddhism. Why are we being told these things? You start hearing teaching like that, run away. Follow the law, not the person. Right? And the law, Myoho Renge-kyo, says, this is just a flow. It's constantly changing. Nothing to be worried about. Just observe it. It's magnificent. Don't chant about things. To open this reality, I'm sorry, I skipped a sentence. Because the medicinal plants of Myoho Renge-kyo are one's own essence, one is, quote, secure and peaceful in the present life. Quote. He's saying it again in another way. We are part of this life process just as everything we experience is. There's no difference. But at the same time, we can acknowledge that there are incredible differences all around us. But at the root, all of these differences are just formations of the same thing. That's the magnificent enlightenment of Buddhahood. To open this reality is later birth in a good place. Boom, says it again. I'm so glad to read this. It's never been said so succinctly. And I can imagine that Nichiren, speaking to his 6 senior disciples, who he's giving the charge to continue his doctrine of the Lotus Sutra, is making this a private teaching moment for these senior disciples who are educated in Buddhism and understand this kind of talk, rather than sending it to his lay believers or somebody else, because this might just shake their devout, their resolve. It might perturb them so much, and that it would create doubt and be an obstacle too great for them to overcome. They could overcome it, but how many times has our resolve been challenged and we walk away from things when they seem too powerful, too much? But this is a conversation with his senior disciples. They need to understand the nature of this. And that statement alone proves out everything I've been saying constantly about this moment-to-moment life, and the lifetimes are all within this life, this samsaric life. There's nothing afterwards. That's the great illusion of frightened people looking for a way out. Why are you trying to get out? This is the magnificent moment. Be in it. You spend your whole life afraid, you never live your life. Right? Myoho Renge Kyo is the medicinal plant of the wonderful Dharma. The meaning here is that the security and peace in the present life indicates the physical dharmas, the physical realm, or realms, and later birth in a good place, the mental dharmas. Oh, I'm so glad he's hammering this down. All your lifetimes are in your mind of perception. It's how you perceive the world, the universe, your life, the flow of everything. When one awakens to the body and mind of all living beings of the 10 realms being the wonderful Dharma, that is security and peace in the present life. To propagate the Lotus Sutra is also called security and peace in the present life and later birth in a good place. You understand now, later birth means the next moment or moments. Roots, stalks, branches, and leaves. This is yet another sentence that Nichiren is examining from the sutra, the Lotus Sutra, and he's breaking down the meaning in it. This is what we've been doing, right? Our teacher said, and how are we doing time-wise? Okay, lots of frame loss here. I'm working on it, folks. Our teacher said, this passage is interpreted in the commentary as indicating resolve, confidence, precepts, meditation, and wisdom. The meaning of this interpretation is that grasses and trees grow by putting out roots, stalks, branches, and leaves. It is the same way with Buddhist practice. That is, we living beings have resolve in the Lotus Sutra is like putting down roots. Based on the essence of the precepts expressed in the words of the Lotus Sutra, quote, he is called one who keeps the precepts, end quote. Acting in accord with the passage, quote, honestly discarding expedient devices, I will preach only the unexcelled way, end quote, is what is meant by keeping the precepts, end quote. Cultivating the lotus, samadhi, in accordance with the text of the Lotus Sutra is what is meant by meditation. This is Gangyo. Chanting the Daimoku is wisdom. Okay. Why is chanting the Daimoku wisdom? Because that is how we invoke our Buddha mind, our perceptive reality, by chanting Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you for my robe. Thank you for watching and listening. Don't forget to download the podcast if that's useful for you. Remember, threefoldlotus.com. There's lots of information there you could download and read at your own pace. Like, subscribe, share. And I'll see you in the next one, okay? Thanks again. Take care of your health. Be kind to yourself and others. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.